I want to know what the hell is going on.
3, 2, 1.
Perfect.
Oh my goodness, I have this feeling that that's going to be 100% perfect, flawless clap.
I felt good about this one.
I am so impressed with this, getting it right.
We have impeccable timing.
So yes, welcome to Screen Share and Chill, a podcast about movies where we're going to talk about movies today. Hi, my name is Kelley.
Hi, I'm Keith.
And I'm Jamie.
And we are the Screen Share... No, we're that...
Wow.
I'm going to do that.
Super cheesy.
Why do you do this?
It's Renfest season, so it's easy for me to get into that. And we are the Screen Share trio, or what... Yeah, anyways, so...
Dear audience, please pay no mind to this raving lunatic.
Oh, shit, I forgot. We're recording this. People are going to listen to this. Oh, God. I'm really into sports ball. I like it when the teams score the touch runs and
Hey, now,
stuff.
I really am into sports ball. Thank you very much.
Yeah, hey, me too.
Hey, we watched a movie.
So yeah, we watched. What did we watch? It's Keith's choice. So what did you pick for us, Keith?
I picked the Autopsy of Jane Doe, a small, tight little horror movie. A little low-budget flick with a one location and a small cast, and they do a lot with a little in this movie, in my opinion.
With Uncle Argyle from Braveheart.
Brian Cox, yes, he's one of my favorite character actors.
Yes, he's really awesome.
Character actors. I heard a quote the other day that said a character actor is somebody that you've seen before, but you won't remember their name. I've also heard a character actor, when I was working in theater, I heard character actor described as somebody that's too ugly to play a lead. I don't know.
That's rude. That's so mean.
Oh yeah.
That sounds like something a lead would say.
Oh yeah. It was spoken by what would most people consider a jawbreaker or a mean girl or whatever we call them nowadays. But yeah, I did not like that interpretation of it, but I did think that it got a little chuckle out of me, even though I didn't want to admit it out loud. But here I am admitting it out loud. So
I guess I shouldn't call him.
Technically,
he's not a character. That's kind of like a mistitling this guy. He's a classically trained theater actor, Shakespearean, stage stuff. But I've liked him in every movie that I've ever seen him in. So
yeah, man.
But
I heard he's really good in. Was it in The Crown or one of those shows? Succession, one of those shows.
Yeah,
that I don't
Succession.
Watch,
and it's also he's sometimes in small parts, but the small part that he's in steals the show. It's that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember him as Agamemnon from Troy.
Been in everything you've ever seen.
Yeah, he's been in a ton of things. So, the two that come to mind mostly for me are Argyle from Braveheart and Agamemnon from Troy. I think it was Troy. It was the one with Brad Pitt. I think they named that one Troy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Autopsy of Jane Doe. Can you tell us a little bit about it? What year did it come out?
2016 indie horror film. It had a budget of $4 million.
Really?
And
wow.
Yep, $4 million, very small. At the box office, it only made $6 million, but hey, that is a profit. It had almost no advertising to speak of. It was kind of like a festival movie, that's dumped out in festivals and independent film channel release, and it kind of does what it set out to do, but I think it does it very well.
So why did you pick this movie? What makes it special to you, or what was the reasoning?
It's a very successful and creepy horror movie that is so small and bit of a slow burn, and that's kind of what I like from a good horror movie. Like I said, it does a lot with a little. You got one location, which is a morgue, and essentially 2 people, 3 if you count the corpse of the Jane Doe. You know what I mean?
Which we'll get into that, whether that's considered an actual, poor woman. Anyways, just go ahead. We'll get to that point.
Yeah. But, it has kind of the same creeps of, a big budget, Conjuring movie to me, but it just scaled back. I don't know. I really like this one. And give me the creepies.
It's really funny that you mentioned that, because he was actually the director wanted to do a horror movie after seeing the Conjuring. He was like, watch The Conjuring. He's like, get me a script. I want to do a horror movie.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, because I can sort of see the same kind of horror stuff, especially with the corpses walking around. We can get to that later, but But yeah, I don't want to jump, obviously, right into the what did you think of it, but I think that we all kind of enjoyed this. I know, Kelley, you were worried going in because you're not the biggest horror fan in the world.
Yeah, I'm famous for, like, I like horror movies as long as they're light on jump scares and unnecessary gore. And it makes me sound like, I'm a little coward in the theater, but in a sense, like, I just consider jump scares to be the cheapest form of thrills. There's no substance behind it. I don't mind a movie scaring the shit out of me and sticking with me for weeks and months afterwards. Like The Exorcist. The first time I saw The Exorcist when I was like a teenager, that movie stuck with me for a long fucking time, like turning on lights in rooms of the house that I wasn't in kind of thing. And it didn't have as many jump scares. And that's what I love about movies if they're creepy and they don't rely on me watching somebody get their eye pulled out in slow motion to or jump out at me. 'Cause I've probably said it before, but jump scares are like hot sauce and haunted houses. They are the cheapest form of thrill. They only cause you discomfort. So it's the equivalent to me of paying somebody to punch me in the face. So I don't really do cheap jump scares. And this movie, thankfully, doesn't have a lot of that. It had a little bit, but it was mostly creepy, and I can dig that.
Right. When this movie does jump scares, it uses it as a tool to, like, offload some tension before the actual scare catches you off guard. They have their use in film. It's no good when a movie is nothing but jump scares. I agree with you on that.
I would have appreciated watching this movie much more on a Sunday sunny afternoon than a dark, late, stormy
the
night.
night that we watched it behind the pod, Jamie and I both live in the same city. And the night that we watched this, there was a severe thunderstorm warning that came out of nowhere. And like I don't know about Jamie, but like my phone went off like right as the movie was beginning, right when like all the little things on the radio are going, there's a storm coming in and blah, 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 blah. And I hear thunder rolling outside and I'm like, wait, was that in the headphones or was that out here? And that's when I check my phone and I see severe thunder. I'm like, holy shit, this is art imitating life, imitating art right now.
Oh, so you got the free 4D experience.
Yeah.
While watching this movie.
Yeah.
We did.
Even had my window open a little bit, so I got misted a little bit from the rain,
And then I had to try to sleep that night.
It was interesting. Felt like I was at Disney.
Because, spoiler alert, this movie involves a storm as a plot device.
I can't believe you would spoil that. God damn it, Kate. Do you have no couth at all? You would spoil the fact that there is a storm in this movie? That we're about to
in a gothic horror setting, that there would be a storm? It's so crazy.
Next, you're going to tell me there was rain in The Crow.
There was also an autopsy, so...
Jesus Christ, man. I mean, I might as well not even watch the movie now.
Of a woman
Oh my God, are there tits?
There in fact are.
There are.
Unfortunately.
And there are gratuitous tits, and I have notes of the gratuitous tits.
There's even a little bit of bush, but then they strategically put the person right in the camera where you get a little image of the bush, and then he stands right in front of it. So it's not just right in the middle of the screen for the entire scene while somebody's talking. I assume they're probably because American audiences would be too distracted by the fact that there's bush right in the middle of the screen. What is he talking about? I have no idea. I see hair.
Dirty.
I want to say that it's the most tasteful tits and bush on a corpse that I've ever seen in a film.
How do you know what they taste like? How many corpses have you tasted?
I did not note the gratuitous parts when they're doing like the actual autopsy scenes. There are just some scenes where it was not needed. And
it was just hanging out.
They would just do a little close up on her nipple. Look how perfect this woman's areola
Only one.
is. Like, thanks.
Yeah, it was only ever one.
I mean, I like boobs. I guess that's fine. I mean, it's a long proud tradition of boobs in horror movies. So, I mean, I guess I honestly like. I guess we're gonna just talk about this now because
I prefer them when they're on living women, though. I have to say.
Hey, kid, it ain't that kind of movie.
I mean, I assume the actor was alive, and that's where I start to feel bad is because this poor actor got a role in a movie, and she had 0 spoken lines, and basically she just had to sit there and stare at the camera with completely naked for however many hours on set. I mean, imagine what her audition looked like. Hi, what's your name? Yeah, hi, my name is John. Nice to meet you. You can go and have a seat there. Actually, go ahead and stand up. Let's go ahead and take your clothes off. We need to see your tits. All right. How good are you at laying motionless for 8 hours at a time?
Yeah, now lay perfectly still and don't talk.
Yep, for 8 hours.
She was picked because she has extensive experience in yoga and breathing.
That would make sense because you can control your breathing a little bit because she probably had to, make it look like, and she did a good job. There were times where I was like, did they use a fucking real doll or a person for this?
Right.
And those that are unaware, a real doll is a sex doll that looks very realistic. Anyway.
Daddy, chill.
The lack of blinking, and nostril and mouth movement. I mean, that makes a lot of sense now. So let's get into what this movie is. So we start with shots of long, ominous shots of a suburban home
with no audio.
Right. Yeah. Soundless and showing what it looks like the aftermath of some horrible event. It looks like people were trying to break out of a house and there's multiple people dead within the house, and it just looks like chaos has happened, and the police are walking through. That's kind of our tour through the house, and there's a half uncovered, perfectly preserved corpse of a young woman in the basement that they are trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So they cart her off to the morgue.
Yeah, and it's very shocking how they show the other bodies first. So they already established that they're going for a little bit of gritty realism when it comes to the bodies. They're covered in blood. They have bruises and cuts and dirt and all this shit. The bodies look dirty, like you would if you went through a murder, I would imagine. But the woman's body that they're uncovering is so pristine. Like, she is pale porcelain skin. Like, she looks like she could be radiating light from under the mud, kind of thing. Not even any dirt is staying on her. As they brush it away, it just completely falls off. So her skin is flawless.
And that was the first gratuitous tit, because they uncovered her.
Yeah. Yeah, just one tit and the side of her face. Like, they don't showing her face and her shoulders. Nah, let's start with the goods, man. Baby. Like,
this might not be a person. Let's keep going till we find tits.
Sure, lady, we hired you for your yoga. Now get your tits out and lay down. Like, come on,
yeah. So we see in the morgue, it's like a family operation, and father and son. We get some, character background establishing while presumably the police are on their way. The son wants to leave and go do his own thing, but he feels that he's beholden to his father, who the mom died a couple of years ago. It's kind of revealed. And his girlfriend is pressuring him to, come on, let's get away and go live our life. And right when they're sort of having this conversation, the sheriff shows up with this Jane Doe corpse, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta stay and help my dad."
Wrong choice.
Yeah, he should have just went. But we establish our characters' motivations and their relationships and whatnot, and then it's done with and out of the way, and it doesn't hit you over the head too hard with it. Feels pretty natural.
Yeah.
Another one of the things that I appreciate about a movie, like, you can fuck up a movie with minimal characters in one setting really badly with over exposition. I feel like this movie does just enough. Yeah,
to the point where even though the name of the movie was The Autopsy of Jane Doe, I wasn't sure how much of it was actually going to just take place in the morgue, because again, they got a pretty decent actor to play the sheriff, the guy that plays Roose Bolton in Game of Thrones. I forget his name. But part of me was thinking that the autopsy was just going to be the beginning, and it was going to lead to a Silence of the Lambs type investigation where we were going to have somebody out in the real world and somebody in the morgue and relaying information to each other, kind of thing. But no, we stayed down there, and it actually worked just fine for that.
Decent music in the establishing shots of the morgue. It has a pretty good score. It's nothing that I would, jump up and dance about, but for a gothic horror movie, it sets the tone just about perfectly.
Always creepy 60s folk music.
The only music that I really made note of was the Let the Sun Shine In song, and unfortunately, that song kind of stuck in my head for the next couple days. Even just now, when I said the first line, I'm like, I can hear it. Oh, let the sun shine in.
And then you get creeped out when you're singing happy song.
Start looking around, what's going on?
Or I'm singing it in a very macabre tone, and everybody around me at the library is looking at me like, do we need to call the cops? Or
Right.
I feel like this movie does a great job with the whole Chekhov's gun thing. They establish with the first to sort of when we're introduced to this father and son mortician group, they're already working on another autopsy, and the girlfriend, as she's come to pick up the son, says, "Oh, I want to see one of the bodies," and so they're kind of fucking with her and showing her some of the bodies that they have there. But there's a bell tied to the toe of one of them. They ask,
Chekhov's
"What is that
bell.
for?"
That's Chekhov's
bell.
Yep.
And they explain that, science has come forward, so there's no need for this anymore, but there used to be, maybe they were unsure if a body was actually dead, so they would tie the bell to the toe so that if it got up and moved, that they would be able to hear it and know that there was a living person in one of these drawers instead of a dead body.
So at the beginning, we're getting a little bit of, like you were saying, exposition about who the characters are and their motivations and such. And we learn a lot about the dad right away. Of course, Brian Cox being a wonderful actor, that he translates the words and his actions really well. And I started thinking at the beginning that, is this a trope in movies where, because his character admits that he doesn't watch movies. They kind of go, there's a little banter back and forth talking about movies that they've seen. And the dad is like, "Oh, I don't really get into movies." I don't know if he doesn't disparage them, but he kind of like, pseudo scoffs at it and is like, "Yeah, I don't really do movies." And I always wonder if the movie maker is throwing that in there is like a nod to people that aren't really moviegoers, saying that it's okay that you're watching, or are they trying to, like, if you're at the movie watching somebody saying, "I don't watch movies," is that a real subtle way of trying to make that person into an other? Like, see, you go to movies. This character, he's different. He doesn't go to movies. We can assume that you're the moviegoer because you're watching this movie.
I think it's more of a way for them to excuse what some might say are irrational actions. There's not a lot of that in this movie, but it's like, a moviegoer is like, "Oh, hell no, don't go in the house," where if you haven't watched a lot of horror movies, then you have no reason to think wise, supernatural.
Yeah, the first time you hear creepy kids music on the radio, you get the fuck out of there because you're like, "I've seen Child's Play and all these other." No, I'm out of here.
Right.
My sister and I have a catchphrase that when we're going into like areas that have a lot of liminal space, or like, I got out of the car once and went walking down a trail in the woods in the rain, and this is how horror movies start.
And a little thing that he did that I really appreciated, and I don't know if this was something they had to like make a note to do, but they catch a dead mouse, or they see a dead mouse, and the dad picks it up with his hands and throws it in the garbage, showing a little bit of like free touching with corpses. Obviously, picking up a dead mouse doesn't really matter to him, but I was so thankful that the very next scene they showed him washing his hands. Yes, I was like, thank you. But he right away he comes out with trying to explain his motto for being a medical examiner, and that is, "Don't ask why." He says this multiple times to his son, like trying to teach him that ours is to collect the facts and to relay the facts to the police and the prosecutors and all that stuff. We don't ask why. We don't ask why this person is where they are, yada, yada. And then within 10 minutes, he's doing the exact opposite.
Because it's such a crazy case, right? It's like, it totally flies in the face of everything that he's come to know as like making a cause of death. Like we'll get into it, but like this also leads into the next question I wanted to ask. So their initial autopsy of this Jane Doe, like the first pass that they do, they come up with the corpse is not decomposed. There's peat moss under the fingernails, broken joints, ankles and wrists. The tongue is cut off.
And he makes a couple of weird statements like peat moss. I'm looking it up right now just to make sure. But like he says something like peat moss only exists in the north. Yeah, we haven't seen this in a while. It only exists in certain areas, blah, 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 blah. It's just it's just mold and organic matter that gets like churned into the soil kind of thing. It's just like soil with more dead shit in it. And peat moss is used all over the world for a lot of things. Like when you're drinking scotch, a lot of times peat moss is used in the process of scotch, that kind of stuff. So like he describes it as if peat moss is some kind of like very obscure thing that you can only find in this one region of New England, where it's like, no, it's all over the world and cultures use it for a lot of different things. People use it as flammable biofuel. People use it as, fertilizer and shit. I don't know all the uses, but I know that it's a pretty common thing.
Sure. That's just movie jargon to sort of foreshadow where we're headed. And by the way, so that is my question. Also, the mention of her smaller waist being the result of a corset. Did you guys think witch immediately after having these things revealed?
No.
I did, and I'm proud of myself for it. I was like, oh, this is a witch.
But here's my thing, like, they show her waist, you have very good view of her entire body. Her waist is not abnormally small when they're showing it. So that for them to make the comment was weird.
And to me, I don't know, I kind of alluded to it earlier, I'm a big Renaissance Festival fan. My ex-girlfriend used to work at a corset shop. So, like, when he's saying, corsets used to be a big deal, blah, 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 and I'm like, bro, they still are. I know corset makers that are making lots of money. You go to a goth club, you go to a kink club, you go to a Renfest club.
He doesn't know. This is somebody's grandpa.
But I mean, they're but you're basing, or they are, and you would be if you were like saying, oh, this is a sign that she's from 500 years ago. No, it's not. No, it's right. by no means is that a sign. So
at this point, you could reasonably. It could seem like a sort of True Detective style, like ritualistic killing, but my mind went to witch, witch trial, execution.
Witch trial?
Witch trial? This trial. The trial of this witch.
Which trial are you speaking of?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I won't do that again. Maybe I will, but let's see.
This movie, it's, you know how they have the cliche of saying, like, oh, the town is a character in the movie itself, or, oh, the setting is a character. I kind of actually feel like that applies here, where the morgue is a bit of a fourth character in this movie, because it's so, I don't know, prevalent, because they're stuck there the whole time, and a morgue is a very specific place with specific characteristics.
Well, yeah, and you would think that if you're the kind of person that you believe in a lot of ghosts and, spirits roaming after their death and stuff like that, wouldn't a morgue be a place where a lot of these spirits would congregate? Like, people always think that, like, graveyards are where the spirits would be, and I'm thinking, no, there'd be a lot more at, like, hospitals and morgues. Those would be a little bit more common because they're closer to the death thing, but so it makes sense that if you believe in that kind of, like, psychic energy empowering a place or leaving an imprint on a place or whatever, that a morgue would be a hotspot for that kind of stuff. So, and it does, I mean, it doesn't come to life, but I don't know. There were points that to me, that was almost a red herring, because I'm like, is it centered around the fact that this woman is the focal point, or is it the combination of this woman and this morgue with, like, a bunch of those other bodies in there, that kind of thing? Did those other bodies reach out to that woman? Or, I mean, we discover later that's not the case, but
appropriate setting.
It was a good setting, I thought.
And so we, everything, the initial autopsy stuff that I just had mentioned, that's all within the realm of possibility, right? But once they open her up, it just gets progressively fucking weirder and weirder. So her lungs are ruined as if she's had deadly smoke inhalation. There are scars all over her heart of, like, multiple stabs. Like, it doesn't make sense that this person should look the way they look on the outside.
He said it's like finding a bullet inside somebody's skull without a bullet wound.
Yeah.
I was thankful he said it, because I'm thinking, wait, how? But that doesn't make any sense, because their skin is okay, right? That's the weird part, right? I mean, I'm not a fucking doctor, so I don't know. And then he says that. I'm like, okay, cool. We're on the same page. Thank you. Thank you, writer.
And about this time, the storm is starting to creep in. This movie does in my opinion, a sort of masterful tension build with everything that's going on. The storm is getting progressively worse as the movie goes on. The shit they're finding is weirder and weirder as they progressively go on, and it just keeps kind of building.
First, they bound her. Then they ripped out her tongue, poisoned her, paralyzed her, forced her to swallow the cloth. Then the cuts, the internal mutilation, stabs. Then, as if that wasn't enough, they burned her. Almost like a human sacrifice.
The radio signal is cutting in and out, and when it does come in every once in a while, you'll hear the kids singing in the background, which, again, kids singing is one of the most creepy sounds in the whole fucking world.
Singing, laughing, talking. All of it creepy.
So kids,
Yeah.
they're just the source of all evil. Children are the source of all evil.
It all has to do with setting. Outside in a park? No. In a morgue in the middle of the night? Yes.
Where no children are around? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a park during the day where there are no children around?
Yeah.
Still bad.
Disembodied children's voices, no matter what they're doing, super creepy.
Yeah.
So then they find possibly the weirdest thing of all is when they start to like flay back her skin and there's just like runes and like ritual stuff tattooed all over like the inside layer of her body. And
I love how they were looking at it like, what are these symbols? And I'm like, the Roman fucking numerals, you goddamn moron. Like it says LVII or whatever. And he's like, what are these symbols? I'm like, those are letters that are often used in Roman numericals. Hello.
And I'm like, what? Why are you not more concerned as to how she got tattooed on the inside of her skin?
yeah.
That's her Best Buy. That's the freshness date of her corpse.
You peel back the label and you see
it says 2035.
Yeah.
We still got like 11 years. We're good. We can leave her alone.
Oh, that's morbid.
But I
morbid.
think that it plays into the fact that essentially these are medical professionals, right? And so you can see on their faces how shocked they are, but they instantly are kind of like, what in the world, like how is this possible? Which I kind of appreciate. But right after this is sort of when we get the first radio thing, and the storm is shaking it, and they're looking at all this weird shit, and they hear a big boom or whatever, and they're like, okay, we need to get the fuck out of here. Which is like, you never see in horror movies, they're acting appropriately. They try to leave.
Well, I was even thinking that the flash flood, because they kept mentioning there would be a flash flood in the news reports, and they're in a basement. And I'm like, oh, is that going to play a part of it? Are they going to get trapped in here with like water rising and something? And the flash flood, another, I don't know if it's meant as a red herring or just to build tension, but it was one of those where I'm like, I was always waiting for the water pouring down to become an issue.
Well, to me, it's probably meant to help explain why the tree came down on the basement exit. Because, once the soil is loosened enough and you have enough heavy wind.
But I was even expecting, like, later on in the movie when he's, like, pushing at the door, I thought that the water would be pouring down and then he would be playing with that. Like, is it worth me opening the door and having the water pour down and drown everybody that's maybe my dad's still alive? Or I don't know. Whatever.
But, yes, I appreciate that they tried to get out when it got appropriate to try and get out. And they just couldn't.
The dad should have like wisened up just a little bit earlier, but it was at least they didn't do the stupid thing in horror movies where everybody in the audience is going, "Get out of the house," and they're just like, "Just one more M&M" or whatever they're doing. I don't know.
When they try to get out and realize that they can't, that is when Chekhov's bell comes back because the lights are out in the morgue and they hear movement or feel, it seems like something is following them.
It's like a silent disco.
And we hear the bell. And it's terrifying. It's the most terrifying little jingly bell. Yes. Because that means it's attached to a dead person that literally has their face smashed in.
But I mean, like, it sounds like they're moving pretty slowly. So this turns into a zombie problem. Like, in a world like ours, if a corpse was shambling down the hallway towards us, we would all probably freeze at first and we'd have the questioning reality going on in our mind. But if Rick Grimes saw one of these corpses that are would he just blow a fucking hole in each of their brains and be on his way? Would his heart rate get above 80 to just hearing a couple of dings in the hallway? So like, it's all a matter of context, right?
Yes, absolutely. Because
so I'm wondering, like, if they went in there with a different mentality, if they grabbed a couple of weapons and decided to start beating the fuck out of these corpses, like, what are the corpses going to do?
I don't know that the corpses here really play by the same rules, because it's kind of like a haunting, like 1 minute it's there and then it's not, sort of thing,
So the other question I have then is, did the corpses ever actually move?
Right, that's a good question. We're not ever given that because, as we come to find out, when they arm up, they get an axe, they're being chased by this corpse and they're running to the elevator because the power is flickering off and on. They're trying to get up in the elevator and it's approaching, and they have no recourse left because there's a dead end. So the dad lashes out with the axe, and it turns out it wasn't the corpse. It was the son's girlfriend came to pick him up at the time she told him.
What a big dummy, for the record, for her to like. But But
we don't know if this is the witch's influence, like, making them hallucinate, obviously, but
that's the way I took it. Yeah. The witch is making them, yeah.
Yeah, but maybe they couldn't hear, even if she's announcing herself. Maybe they aren't aware of that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we can really blame anyone for this, because it feels like supernatural tampering caused this.
And even though it sounds like I'm nitpicking the choices here, I'm preloading it up to a big piece of praise, is that I find it incredibly creepy, and this is the kind of horror that I totally get into, is when something is messing with a person's mind, because you could easily find current scientific level knowledge to explain it using different psychic breaks and stuff like that you could be going through, but also, like, there's nothing more terrifying to me than I can't trust my own mind, and I think I see an enemy, and it causes me to do harm to somebody I care about. That is the height of. It's doubly now that I feel guilty for doing the crime that I was worried about somebody else. I can't trust my own mind. Even if somebody comes up to me and says, I'm here to help you, I don't know if you're real. That's terrifying to me. So, the fact that you take a regular, I mean, if this person had a history of schizophrenia, they might have a little bit more tools in their tool shed to work through what's real and what's not. But for somebody like me, I've never really had to deal with what's real and what's not. So that would fuck me up. So these movies that make the main character see different people in place of whatever, that I really appreciate that. So good call.
Yeah, when you can't trust your own eyes, it's even scarier. I just want to say, to Brian Cox's credit, in all this scene, this sort of chase, corpse chase scene or whatever, there's a part where he's looking through like a crack in the door to see what's going on, and you briefly see the corpse like walk past, and his face looks like actual fear. Like, credit to an actor, because you can twist your face and make like, oh, this is a facsimile of what fear looks like, but his face looked like genuine fear, and I don't know how you do that if you aren't genuinely afraid. So credit to Brian Cox for being able
believe
to
it or not, acting is a lot harder than people give it credit for, and people even that are trained in it and know the things you're talking about, it's still really fucking hard to do it. So the people that make it look easy, that's a real talent. I mean, I don't know if we should idolize them quite as much as we do in our culture. Our culture already lauds these people plenty, so maybe they don't need our praise right now. But it is truly a talent that it's one of those talents where a lot of people think that they're better at it than they really are, myself included too. I'm sure I've acted in quite a few shows, and I'm sure I don't come across as convincingly as I would like to in a lot of places like this. So yeah, good tip of the hat to him.
Another bit of foreshadowing is to R.I.P. to the sweet kitty cat, that they find the cat something.
Yeah,
something
cool.
Yeah, it's always unfortunate, but it serves two purposes at least, and it's not just like a shock, oh, they killed the cat thing. One, it's to show that there is something is afoot here and bad things are happening. Two, the father, Brian Cox, takes it and puts it out of its misery, and that comes back later at the end. It's sort of like another life lesson.
And it shows you the incinerator. It lets you know that the incinerator is a thing. So then now, okay, during the movie, obviously we're in a big bit of mystery right now. We don't have explanations for anything. But now we get to the end of the movie, let's say, just to skip ahead for a moment. And what killed the cat?
Witchcraft.
Yeah, just like magic voodoo.
Yeah, rage. Rage.
But remember,
rage
in the
hate.
beginning, the cat reacted when her body was brought in. Like that was like the portent of doom. Like the cat's like, this is bad, this is evil, and so she had to get rid of it.
Yeah, but I'm just curious, like, how did she like take control of a rat, or like did the cat just possibly spontaneously just get contorted through telekinesis? Like,
wasn't it? I thought it got like crushed under a shelf.
No, it was in the air
vent. Yeah, that's what makes it even weirder, because like a human being wouldn't really be crawling around in there. So it's not like one of the corpses got out, crawled through the vents, killed the cat, and then crawled back into its bed. So that's why I'm curious, like what killed the cat? It seems like maybe that was one of the missed.
Well, maybe it was, it was in the air vents. Maybe it was going through a place where there's a fan, and the supernatural, air of the place turned the fan on at that moment. You know what I mean? We don't know.
Who knows? Certain. But afterwards, I look back and I'm like, I don't know if I have a good explanation for who killed the cat. I know why everybody else dies. Everything else that dies in this movie, I've got a pretty good explanation for it, except for the cat.
Well, technically, we know exactly who killed the cat. We don't know who maimed the cat.
Oh, well, yeah, but who maimed it to lead to its death, yeah.
So R.I.P. Kitty Cat. It's always sad and uncomfortable when an animal dies in a movie.
Well, and like you guys were praising the way it handled because it showed foreshadowing for other things, but also that's a family pet, and there was like this moment of sadness, and then it was like bye body.
Well, there's like bigger fish to fry. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations. Like
it just felt a little stilted, a little quick. Like, oh, poor kitty, bye.
Yeah, and it felt like it was a springboard for Dad to talk about Mom. Like, that cat was the last thing of your mom's. Let me tell you my backstory that you obviously already know because you're my son, but I'm going to have this exposition scene. And I might be skipping ahead a little bit, and pardon me if I do. But I will say that this was one of the negatives for me in the movie is that this exposition scene with Brian Cox, like we've said, amazing actor, doing great work so far, that scene felt completely fucking hollow to me. And that makes me think that it wasn't necessarily the actor. Maybe it was the writing, or maybe it was just at the wrong time. But I didn't care. I didn't care, and he didn't draw me in at all. And I wanted to. I was enjoying the movie up until that point, but that scene kind of pushed me away. It repulsed me a little bit. I don't know if did that scene work for the two of you? Did you enjoy the dad exposition scene where they're like sitting on the floor and Dad's talking about his feelings now?
I mean, I think it worked. It didn't push me out of the movie or anything. So I didn't get that sort of read on it.
What about you, Jamie? How did you?
It didn't seem necessary, but it didn't push me out of the movie. But it doesn't really add anything. So
they can't get out. They come back to the autopsy room and they're like, "Fuck this! Let's burn the corpse." And surprise, surprise,
they're closed in this place and they start a fire. Which that's a choice. That's a choice. You can't get out, but you're gonna start a fire. Cool.
Well, I don't think they knew that the corpse was gonna like shoot the fire off of it and not be burned.
Well, they didn't exactly plan it out. They just dumped fucking kerosene all over it and light a fucking match on it. So it's not like they put it. They have a fucking incinerator. Why are they burning her on a bed just by throwing fucking gasoline on a bed?
The power isn't reliable.
Oh, yeah, I know. It seemed like there was a little bit, like, I get it. I might have.
But the incinerator was already started.
And incinerator, I don't think is gas, or I don't think it's electricity driven. I wouldn't think so. But either way, it just seemed like it was very poorly thought out. The first thing I was thinking about, like, is there like tunnels for air down here, or is it just recycled air because you're burning up all your oxygen then if you're closed in?
I don't know if we're thinking lucidly anymore.
Yeah.
Right. I was just going to say that. I think that it might be showing that they're starting to panic.
Well, yeah, even the way they spread the gas all over it, they're doing it very frantically. So I get it, but that was going through my mind like, oh, is this how they're going to die? Are they going to die from the flood? Are they going to die from the fire? Are they going to die from lack of oxygen?
Which is, I love that about this movie, that at this point in the movie, we go, or at least I did, my brain goes, oh, so this is what happened in the house at the beginning, because we have people axing their friends for no apparent reason, chopping holes in the walls, setting fires. It's just, if you were an examiner trying to piece together what happened here, it looks like utter chaos.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, the same exact thing is just happening here, and obviously it's because of this corpse, this Jane
because skipping ahead a moment, think about what the further medical examiner sees when they find this. They see the old man dead in the autopsy room with a scalpel in his heart with his son's fingerprints all over it. Near the entranceway, we find the son's girlfriend dead from an axe wound, and both the son's and the dad's fingerprints are all over that. Like, how do you describe... And then the son is fine. The son is fine. Do you believe anything he says? I often think about, after these horror movies, these people are going to jail. The people that are innocent, that are heroes, probably go to jail. Nobody's going to believe that Michael Myers was hunting you down. They're going to think you probably killed your friends.
Well, the son is not fine. He's dead at the bottom of the stairwell.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, he dies. But like,
it looks like that could be self-inflicted.
Right. Yeah, it looks like he killed all these people.
Yeah, if he did live, he would have just been in jail. Yeah.
He killed all these people and then he killed himself. This is what this looks like. To rewind a little bit, so the corpse won't burn. They start discussing. This is where like the witch thing comes in. It gives you a couple of possibilities, because I think the dad says something about, he's like, witches weren't real. This never happened. What if they created exactly what they feared by all of this horrible shit that they did to this woman? Which I don't take that as 100% the movie telling you what happened, but it's an avenue you could take if you so choose.
I so chose. I liked that.
Yeah, this is an interesting way to have like the creation, the coming about of actual witches.
Yeah, I likened it back to our conversation during Dune about did the Bene Gesserit see a prophecy or did they create a prophecy? How much of that is self-fulfilled and how much of that was an actual, like, authentic, like, sight into another time and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
And after this, I kind of stopped taking notes because I was just so
funny.
on the
I
ride
did too.
on the movie.
I did too. My last note is that she looks like Tom York, but female and extra hot.
I can see that, like, without the lazy eye.
Yeah, she's like Tom York. If you were to put Tom York through an AI filter to make him pretty and female, that's what the picture would come out as. I mean, I think Tom York is still an attractive person, even though he's a kind of funny looking fella. But but it's so like, yeah, she was Tom York.
See, I had one more. I had the note, like, where the dad's like, don't hurt him. Like, he's begging her, like, take me, don't hurt him. And I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, so dad's begging. This poor kid, his mom's dead, his girlfriend's dead, his cat's dead, his dad's dead. He's so hurt already. Like, yeah. Like, you're beyond the don't hurt him moment.
Yeah. But I mean, it is that moment of the parent. So I took that as him seeing both that he understands that she was wronged. The person that is the antagonist, she was actually the original victim. And she's just getting her revenge. So he's like, okay, you can take my life. I get it. If this makes you feel better, but please. But then also the cool part of, the parent gene or whatever kicking in and saying, like, I will sacrifice everything if you save my son's life, even though, yeah, he's going to be pretty fucked up and he's probably going to jail for the rest of his life. So maybe a murder would be kind of, maybe the ghost was like, you know what? I get what you're saying, but I can see into the future enough that him dying from a broken neck is actually going to be better for him now. Yeah. So you're welcome.
Yeah. So the Jane Doe, the body essentially restores herself by inflicting all the damage that was done to her on the dad, like all of his wrists and ankles break and he starts exhaling smoke and the stabs in his heart. It's like a trade.
And it doesn't but it doesn't end up being a trade because it doesn't sate her desires. It doesn't stop her her reign of terror. She continues to do it. So it was just how many people has she done this to? And she's just going to continue doing it.
Yes,
so his sacrifice was completely in vain.
This was the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals possibly ever.
Yeah, I see the guy with the bridged fingers. I receive your life and your suffering. You receive nothing. You receive nothing.
You receive broken wrists.
Yeah, you receive the pain and suffering I'm giving you. Right. That's what you get.
I got the worst attorneys.
But yeah, and so then I like that the at the end, the sheriff has seen enough. He's like, get this body to the next county. Let them deal with it.
Which I don't think that's how legal stuff works. We don't want to solve this.
Get that body out of my county.
Just drive it to Oakland County and just drop it on the border. Just drive up to imagine the medical examiner on that side. Like, where's this body from? Oh, like 80 miles away. What the fuck? This isn't my job. Send it back.
Maybe the morgue is right on the borderline. You know what I mean? Maybe it serves both counties or whatever. So,
I mean, you do have the one little bit of leeway is like, our autopsy guy is dead, so we can't do it. So we had to send it somewhere else.
Sure. Yeah, that is also fair.
And to be frank, there were some times in it that, I mean, I am not a doctor. I don't have any medical training whatsoever, but it felt like some of his verbiage was not written by somebody that understands medical science too well. I don't know. It didn't, I didn't write it down, but I remember there were a few times in there where I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard a medical professional speak in that way and use those words and that kind of. So who knows? Maybe I would be curious to see what somebody that does have some training in medicine what they think when they hear this. Is it mumbo jumbo or is he speaking like in an old timey vernacular because he's older? Is he saying things like, she's got spirits on the brain or something? Who knows? Who knows?
She's got ghosts in her blood. You should do cocaine about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have one more thing written down, which I actually didn't notice the first time I watched this movie. And I don't know if maybe you guys noticed, but when the cop is in the morgue at the end walking around surveying the chaos, the radio is on. Yeah. And it says something to the effect of, we're having our 4th straight day of pure sunshine. So
I did catch that.
Storm. Yeah, the storm wasn't even real. This was all, like, either they hallucinated or the witch pulled them into a, some sort of supernatural pocket realm or whatever, but
I'd be willing to
cool
bet
to me.
Even the music selection before and after was very different. Like when they were listening to music in the beginning, it was more modern rock type stuff. And then when he comes back for this woman, now it's like more classic rock. And the dad doesn't strike me as the type that would even bother with the radio. So I don't think he changed the station, and the kid doesn't seem to notice. I say the kid, but the young adult doesn't seem to notice. So I would be really curious if we went back and watched it again, do we hear the radio announcer at all before the storm happens, before the quote unquote storm happens? If so, is it the same person even? Because that might have been another little subtle clue that if I was the filmmaker, it might be cool to have, you can hear the radio DJ in the background, in the early scenes, and it's a different person, like it's a woman or something. So it's clearly, you can hear there's a difference in the voice. And then now when the storm is happening, you're hearing a very different voice speaking.
I think it's the same person through the whole thing. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they say something weird or fucked up at some point.
A few times, yeah.
The radio.
Yeah, there's a few times where the person says something where they're like talking to the people in the room, not.
Yeah, like you're going to die down here or something.
Maybe not quite that drastic.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
y'all are fucking dead.
Yeah, it has the same effect, but it's not so blatant. Yeah,
right.
But yeah, and so that's we end with a little twinkling of the toes of Jane Doe as she's in the back.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to point out, that I didn't make a note of, but now that I'm recalling the movie, I think of, is that they go up the staircase to the top that's closed off. The hatch to the outside world is closed off because a tree fell in it, like we discussed earlier. And then later on, he is led to believe that the police on the other side, and they have like chainsaws and they're like cutting it down. And then all of a sudden he starts singing the song too. And I could see it coming. At this point, I'm already expecting anybody that interacts with him is probably not who you think it is. But as soon as the police officer really, in a sense slowly, but it didn't take him long to slide into, so let the sun shine in, and he's singing it like a game show host, like very oh, it's so creepy. And I was right there with the main character. Like
that's
what
like
do you
more
do?
Terrifying than a corpse walking after you.
Right.
Like if I was Jack Sparrow with one bullet, I know what I'm using it for.
Or the radio turning back on.
Yeah, oh my god, I would just cower in the corner and look for a single bullet. And anyways, maybe we don't leave that in the final edit. I don't want to put a disclaimer at the front of this.
You dumb bastard.
Yeah, that'll be the subtitle is looking for one bullet.
No. Wait, what did you say? Waiting in the corner and looking for one bullet?
Yeah, no, that's a little too dire. That's kind of like when I did the Crow episode. It was funny because we make several mentions of shit on me. I was this close to doing the episode title shit on me.
I still think that should have been the episode.
I just couldn't do it, man. I didn't know if like streaming services would be like yelling at us for having, and I was like, if I just put like a bunch of ampersand signals, like the weird characters, it would look like we're saying fuck on me or something. Like, so, I just left it as something else. But, if you're in the audience and you're like, man, that would have been a great title. I get you. I'm right there with you. I was a little too scaredy cat to commit that far to it.
So yeah, that's the Autopsy of Jane Doe, a little compact, very slow burn with good payoff of that burn horror movie, in my opinion. So let me ask you, what did you think of the Autopsy of Jane Doe?
Wait, don't we need a bucket?
Popcorn bucket? Yeah, it's her open chest. It's like
with the one tit
cage. Yeah.
With the one tit that was always showing.
Yeah, on the side. Yeah,
it's just one tit that you're reaching into to get your popcorn. It's like a soft rubber. No. You can put it on your head as a hat in a rainstorm. The realistic version would be, though, it would be something. It would look like a child's box, like made out of cardboard, very bright colors, and it would have like one side would be taller than the others, and it would be in bright colors. Let the sun shine in. Mm-hmm. Maybe.
No, it's a split open chest with like rib bones sticking out, and your popcorn is in the center.
See, but that's just not. How do the logistics of that? You're getting blood all over my popcorn, man. Like, I don't want to eat gooey
it's just
popcorn.
Red colored butter. It's okay.
I'm just trying to design the most appropriate.
It's red colored lung butter all over your popcorn. No, thank you. So Jamie, what would you say? Would you give this movie a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
You really want to do this? Here. Now? Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's do it!
I give it a thumbs up. It is definitely creepy, and it did take me a little bit of time to be able to drift off to sleep after watching it, because it does kind of invade your brain and make you look around corners and stuff before you walk.
Especially when sudden storms crop up on you while you're watching it.
Yes. Yes, the 4D experience was a lot.
It was actually really cool. I was like, a part of me was, because I watch the movies with my headphones on a lot of times, and I was thinking, I really want to switch to my normal speakers so that I can kind of get the extra effect of it, but it worked out. It was definitely really cool. So what about you, Keith? Would you give this movie, I mean, I kind of got a decent idea where you're going to go with this, but officially, would you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Yeah, pretty sure he hated it.
This one, I think it's 2 thumbs up for me. This is probably one of in my top, maybe 3 horror movies of the 2010s, just because it came out of nowhere and I had never heard anything about it. When I watched it, it kind of blew me away with how good it is at crafting its creepiness and how small scale but not cheap feeling it is. You can do a small scale movie with a low budget and it comes across as cheap. Whereas this feels like, the movie just happens to be set here. You're not questioning the setting or the small scale of it. I like it a lot. What about you, Kelley? Did you answer that already?
I did not, but yes, I would definitely give it a thumbs up. I enjoyed it. This is the kind of horror movie that I can get into where it's less score, it's less... Which is funny because it's an autopsy, but they didn't lean into it over much. There is
some gooey, nasty guts stuff, but it's not over the top gratuitous.
Right, and you kind of expect it with an autopsy.
Sure, yeah.
It was more gratuitous with the nudity of the model, it felt like, but I don't know how you do it without. So, I get it. It wasn't over much. I would officially give it a thumbs up. This is the kind of horror movie I like. I will say that the audition for that woman cracks me up because it's 3 parts. 1, take out your tits. 2, lie still for an extended period of time. 3, can you wiggle your toe? And that's it. That's it. Yeah. Can you do all 3 of those? You're hired. Come on in. Now get naked and just lay there for the entire fucking day, and we better not see you breathe. It's interesting that you bring up that it's a 2010s horror, because it's a very specific time frame. And I wanted to throw this out there, that this may end up in the final cut, it may not. But I wanted to throw this out there. Do we want to, maybe let our listeners know a little bit more about our Wheel of Destiny? We want to keep that a secret still.
No, I think it's a good insight to let them know why we pick the movies we pick.
Sure, go ahead.
Because I was kind of thinking that too. I'm like, we've been doing this since the beginning of the podcast, pretty much, but we haven't really told you, dear listeners, why we pick the movies we pick. We have a 2-wheel system. That one wheel is the decade. And the other wheel is the type of movie, the genre of movie.
For now, that may change at some point.
Yeah, and sometimes we throw in little weird random things into one of the wheels just to see if it comes up. But for example, what we are in right now is 2010's horror. So that's why Keith brought that up, that this is one of his favorites from that time frame, because that was the specific time frame we're looking into. If you're curious about what the other movies, anything that's not one of our In Defense Of series, or Dune, those are the only 2 kind of outliers. But other than that, everything has been via the wheel. And I would challenge you to go back and look at those movies and try to figure out what was the genre theme for those times.
The spins?
Because we do get a little creative with what fits into the genre sometimes.
Yeah, it's a little loosey-goosey.
Yeah, I didn't fucking pick Doctor Strangelove because it's a huge fucking wonderful movie to me. I mean, I was restricted by the Wheel of Destiny, and I had to pick something within a certain area. So,
speaking of, do you know what we are going to be watching next week?
I don't know. I have looked into some other 2010s horrors, and there are, surprisingly, even as a non-horror fan, there are a lot of movies that I really liked in there. One that jumped out that I will not be picking, but I definitely had to give it a vocal nod to, is Train to Busan, because I fucking love that movie. And us doing movie night before pre-podcast days is how I saw that movie for the first time, and I fucking loved that movie. But I just wouldn't consider it a horror movie. Yes, there are zombies. Yes, there are some horror elements, but it's not. It's more of an action drama type movie than it is. like, would you consider Walking Dead a horror TV show? Not really. Like, it's more about people and society and different cultures.
It does fit in the genre, but it's not what you think of when you think this is a horror movie.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean?
Yeah, you would be shoehorning it in. Die Hard is a Christmas movie kind of thing. If I was going to have the kids over for Christmas Day, yeah, exactly. Like, I totally understand that. And that's why even I said during The Crow, if somebody doesn't see The Crow as a Halloween movie, I get it, because it's not. Halloween is the setting, but it's not about Halloween. Like, this movie isn't about, or like Train to Busan is not about the horror. It's about the action and these people dealing with overwhelming odds, that kind of stuff. It could easily be set on a sinking ship or something.
Which that's been the case since the very first zombie movies, though, really. George Romero's Night and Dawn of the Dead are all about the people and the social situations. That they
you sound like you're trying to convince me to watch Train to Busan next week. Because, I wouldn't take much convincing. I fucking love that. Have you seen it before, Jamie?
I have not.
Oh, it's so good. That's so good. But I don't think that's what I'm going to be picking. But that's the era that we're looking at.
Conversely, I have mine picked out and a backup in case Kelley picks mine.
Ooh.
And if you have questions about the picks that you're considering and you want to ask me, it's possible that I have seen it because I watch a lot of horror movies.
Are you willing to share your picks, Jamie?
Sure, are you going to steal them?
Probably not, but yeah, let's go ahead.
So my number one pick is Dr. Sleep.
Oh, yeah, because I think we talked about that briefly when we hung out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have never seen it. I really liked The Shining. I don't usually, I don't know. I'd probably not the kind of movie I'd normally get into, but it's creepy without a lot of gore and a lot of jump scares, so hell yeah, I like The Shining. I'm really curious. I hope it's good. I really want it to be good, so that would be wonderful.
And I like Ewan McGregor and The Shining.
So you've never seen it either, Keith?
I have seen it.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to temper, anybody's opinions.
Right.
Like that.
And then my backup would be The Conjuring.
Classic.
Right.
I think I've seen that, but it's been a long time, so that would be kind of fresh for me too. So either one would be great. So yeah, so next week I'm thinking about Dr. Sleep.
I mean, either way, we're talking about it, I guess. But
yeah. So so that's been our episode for the autopsy of Jane Doe.
You wanted to say diary, I do too.
Yeah, the diary of Jane Doe, the diary of Anne Frank. No, nothing did not involve anything like that. But yeah, so we really liked it. We had a good time with it. Did you see it? What did you think of it? Yeah, we're going to be on social media, so leave us a comment on the social media. As much as we appreciate you sending us messages with your thoughts about the episode, they don't help as much as just putting the comments out there so that we can all discuss them openly, because that's the whole point. Unfortunately, the podcast right now is a one-way communication. We are communicating with you, and as much as you yell at your radio in the car, we can't hear you. The only way we can hear you, all three of us, is if you leave a comment on one of our social media platforms, or if you really want to, you can go to ko-fi.com/screenshare, and there, not only can you interact with us and you can support us financially, but also for the right amount of money, you can even force us to watch any fucking movie you want.
Oh yeah, do that. Make us watch a movie.
Especially if you already have movies that you want us to watch, that you're saying, oh, you guys should watch X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, there's an avenue for you to make that happen.
Hey, you know what? Pull up some money with your friends, take out a small loan on your bike, whatever you got to do. Make us watch that movie that you really, really love or hate. Even if you just want to torture us for 2 hours, we'll get you back. We'll get you back, but we'll appreciate your support.
Yeah, I just want to say, because this might be one of the more lesser known movies that we have watched. As I said, it had almost no advertising budget to speak of. Many people haven't heard of it ever, which was my case when I found it. So if you like what we have to say about it and you like a good creepy movie, you should watch this movie. It's a good movie.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. So look for us on all the different social media. You can support us in a million ways, including leaving a review on iTunes or the podcatcher of your choice. We've been seeing some awesome reviews coming in. We appreciate it. We're trying our best to make a good quality product so you have some enjoyment and people to chat with in your head about random movies. So, look for us next week where we'll be doing the movie of my choice that I'm not exactly sure what I've picked, but I'm sure it'll be wonderful. I've never picked a bad movie ever. So
Lady Hawk.
Yeah. So, but in any case, for Screen Share and Chill, I'm Kelley.
I'm Keith.
And I'm Jamie.
We'll see you later.
Bye.
Hey,
Bye.
we'll see you later with bells on, huh? It has a different.
Creepy.
We'll be dead. Get it?
Please
We'll
don't
be dead
come
and
up to me with
chasing you.
bells on.
We'll be dead and chasing you.
We need the little ding sound effect from the movie. Make it happen.
I'm going to call the police. You go ahead, call them. Call anybody you want. They can't do anything